Good afternoon. I'm Steve Lowry, the editor of the Hilo, the arts and culture section of the Long Beach Post. A little confession, I've been here a couple of years, so I don't know everything. And every now and then something shows up that astounds me that everyone says, oh yeah, we all knew that. And the gentleman to my right, Daniel Kasidi, hey Daniel,
Hey,
is one of those instances because the great Asia Morse, who is one of my colleagues, wrote a story about Daniel and his company, Rastaclat, and about how they give back to the community, which is lovely. But when I read about how Rastaclat came about, which was literally from a single shoelace, we'll get into it, to become not only a multi-million-dollar company, but global with deals with like the NBA and the Olympics. And now, kind of Warren Buffett-esque, Daniel's other main concern now is how he takes all of the success and gives back to the community. And so we are very, very pleased to have Daniel Kasidi with us. Daniel, welcome.
thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that intro.
Let's start with Asia's story that ran last week. The program is called, let me get it. It is, help me with it, Daniel. The program now
It's a
is,
seek.
go ahead.
Well, we've started our foundation. It's called the Seek the Positive Foundation. Really, our focus is a focus on equality and personal development. And it just comes from my upbringing and not necessarily having those mentors and having the same opportunities. And now that I've become an entrepreneur and gained a little bit more access in the world, a little bit more knowledge, we really want to pay that forward, not only myself, but our entire company, Rastaclat, and the things that we're really passionate about. So last week, we launched our foundation, the Seek the Positive Foundation, and we're donating 1% of all net proceeds at Rastaclat from here on out to that foundation so we can give scholarships and grants and donations and also kind of get our hands dirty with, causes that we're passionate about. So really just trying to inspire the next generation to do good and then pay it forward once they become successful. And that's my goal.
And this has always been a part of Rastaclat. You are celebrating your 10-year anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing for anybody.
Yeah,
but from
thank
the
you.
beginning, Rastaclat has always been giving back, working within the community, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you the story. When I was 15, I grew up in Orange County. I ended up moving to Long Beach when I was in my early 20s when I was going to school in downtown LA. So my family's from Orange County. School and work was in LA, and Long Beach felt like that really great middle ground and fit. And I just fell in love with Long Beach. And when I would drive past Wilson and some of these schools and see these kids skateboarding at Cherry Park and those type of things, it just resonated with me because as a 15-year-old, I was that kid. I was that kid that wanted to skateboard and was skateboarding and so on and so forth. And that's how I really founded my company. I skateboarded. I got sponsors through skateboarding, and I started taking my extra shoelaces and making braces just for myself. And my friends started asking me for these bracelets, and what I realized when I give it to them there was such a sense of newfound confidence from some people, or they were inspired by what I was doing. And there was just a magic in it that not only made me feel good about myself, because at that point I was still pretty young, I was 17, but it made someone else, have a sense of confidence and positivity. So our brand message is Seek the Positive. It's about evoking positivity with everything that you do. And even in these times, which are unprecedented, going through every single day and having that reminder, that's why our bracelet says Seek the Positive on it. It's just that reminder every single day to keep that mindset in the forefront.
Well, in seeking the positive, I think your story is a great story, that terrific things can happen, not just in bad times, but annoying ones. You were in that position that everyone has been, which was you were waiting on a friend who was really late. You guys were supposed to go skating, and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and you picked up a shoelace and said like, what the hell? And that you made your first bracelet then. So even in that most annoying, where's this guy going to be? That's basically the germ of this thing, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you put it that way, but it is that. It's like you're annoyed, you're waiting, you're impatient, but like, what can you do in that moment to make that moment a better moment? And for me, it was a little bit of creativity, and then it just spawned onto all these different things. And so, but yeah, it starts with mindset, and where your mind is, and are you gonna sit there and sulk and be mad, or are you gonna find a way to like let a positive energy come out? And so I think you hit the nail on the head there.
All right, so let's start right there. So, because a lot of people, we talked about this before, a lot of people have have made a silk screen in their garage of a t-shirt, or they maybe made a bracelet or some jewelry. And that's about as far as it goes. Okay. You took it to that next step and the next step and the next step. You're originally from Kenya. You came here when you were 5. What do you think it is in your bringing up that gave you that kind of drive to go beyond where most people kind of say, well, that was fun, but I'm bored now. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with being an immigrant, honestly, and being sort of first generation and seeing my parents work so hard to bring us to this country. And also just knowing that I was really lucky to be here. So I've sort of always had a chip on my shoulder, in my entire youth, knowing that I sort of need to pay it forward and I need to make my parents proud and I need to make myself something of myself, because not a lot of people get this opportunity. And so that was just sort of something that I innately understood. And it just kept me always searching for that one thing that can allow me to make a big impact, not only for my family, but for people out, in the world. And so when I made that bracelet and people had that response to it, it was just like a boom, like this is it, like this is the idea. And that was the window to like really identify what that was and commit to it. And, I was able to do that. And a lot of it maybe even wasn't conscious. It was just something that I sort of innately, intuitively knew how to do.
Did you always, was it that kind of feeling through high school that you knew eventually you'd be running your own business? Even before
absolutely this? Yeah, absolutely. I was always entrepreneurial. I was always wanting to teach myself new things. I was always putting lists together every single day, and I've always had this kind of, that's just who I am, and that's just how I've always been. So it just took one thing, it just took a spark, and I jumped on and made a little flame out of it.
How did you, let's try to help our people in the audience who maybe want to do something like that. What are some lessons that you've learned now in these 10 years that you can pass along? For instance, what is the thing that keeps you going day after day? I am certain right now we're talking, it's been a great success. You're giving all this money back. I'm sure there have been just as many days where you're like, oh, crap. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Daniel, what keeps you going every day?
I mean, what keeps me going is when I hear people tell me stories about how the brand affected them in a positive way. I'll get emails of someone that's in the hospital with their family and something bad happened and they all got a bracelet and it helped them through the experience and they're more stronger than they've ever been. I get stories where someone's like, hey, I was going to commit suicide and your brand, just that piece of content, helped me just kind of get out of that funk for that day. And so that's really what helps me get up every single day, is just seeing people being affected by our brand message and, living a better life through it. And so, that's what drives me on a daily basis. And then the opportunity to do things like this, to give back and also inspire people to take the same leaps that I have, and then use their powers for good, and those are the things that get me up every day.
It's funny. I've done stories with other business people like yourself, and they always tell me the same thing. The most important thing about a company is not what it makes, it's story. If you and I said Nike, that's one story. If we say Apple, another story. And I guess that's what eventually becomes known as brand. It's not just a logo, it's a story. What would you say is Rastaclat's story?
I mean, Rastaclat's story is a story of perseverance and, really mindset. It's about how do we develop a mindset that allows us to do good for ourselves and other people, and the Rastaclat product is really just a vehicle of that mindset and that story, and so that's what Rastaclat really is when you sort of encapsulate all of it. It's a collection of a community, and you talked about global. We're in over 228 countries and regions, over 10 million bracelets we've put on wrists in the last 10 years, millions of followers. And when I ask a kid, whether you're from the US or you're from Thailand or China or Costa Rica, like, what do you love about the brand? And they always talk about, I love the brand's message. That's what keeps people part of what we do. And so that's the essence of who we are. That's our story. It's building a community of people that feel inspired and feel, that they want to do better for themselves and others.
Well, I love bracelets, by the way, because I think it's for people who don't have the guts to get a tattoo. It's like, it's something that's right there. And you can take it off, So if you have you don't have to erase an old girlfriend or anything like that. But I want to make clear to people watching who maybe have never heard of Rastaclat. It's at rastaclat.com. If you go on there, there isn't just like 2 bracelets. There are so many bracelets, and the company has deals, as I said, with huge entities like the NBA, like the Olympics. I'm curious, Daniel, what is the I'm sure like when you started, people thought like, okay, so you're going to make like what, 5 bracelets and that's the company. Well, there are countless bracelets. I'm curious, what is the creative process when you guys are developing a new bracelet? How does that come along, and how long does that take?
That's a really, really great question. It's complex for us at this point. 10 years in, we have over 2,000 retailers in the States and 14 distributors internationally. So our product and our creative process is a little bit different. But where I kind of take it from at the very beginning is about creating timeless products and timeless silhouettes, right? So if you look at our brand, even though you'll see a lot of bracelets on our website, there's really about 5 styles that are on there. And all these styles are patent protected. We've gotten all the trademarks and all those type of things. So they're protected products because obviously with bracelets, it's a low barrier of entry to get into that business. So we protected them. And then now, once we've had these protected styles, now we build storytelling in them, right? So now that I have a canvas, it's like, what story are you going to tell through this bracelet? So we tell stories through collaborations. We tell stories through inspiration of colors. We tell stories through charitable partnerships. We tell stories through all different things. And so that's what we've been able to create. And that's a creative process. And so we have a lot of different tiers of types of storytelling. But in general, that's what we do. And that's what we've done. And I sort of equate it to a brand like Vans. Vans, the footwear company, really only makes 5 types of, really majority of their business is 5 types of shoes, right? But they've been around for, I don't know how many decades, and constantly have, really great storytelling, and they've been able to be sustainable and relevant. And so it's a similar model in that sense.
Well, I can tell you, by the way, my Rastaclat bracelet is coming my way. Now, I will say this. I ordered from the women's page because I have dainty wrist, very dainty.
There you go. There you go.
And I really like it. But I know the moment I put that on, Daniel, because I have other things that I wear, one's for my dad, one's for my kids. When I have it on, you're right. People will ask me, people just don't put things on just to put them on, that there's a reason. And I guess that goes to what you're saying. When you put something on, it's like putting on a bit of a uniform. You're making a statement.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about bracelets, necklaces, rings, those are things that are statement pieces, right? There's a meaning for it. You told me that the one you have is from your dad and your brother. And I'm sure within that bracelet, there's a deep, meaningful story there. And that's the same with our brand, and so that's really how people get to know about our brand. We do surveys, and word of mouth is, usually the number one or number 2 reason people find out about us, because someone will be like, hey, what's that bracelet on your wrist? And then someone tells them the brand story and even what it means to them and how it inspired them. And then it pays forward and maybe someone else jumps on. That's how we've been able to build a community.
This is the part of the show where I always say I forgot to mention this, which is if you're viewing at home, please send us comments or questions. Somebody did it on their own. Good for your industry. This is from Facebook, Daniel. Daniel, I'm a teacher at Millikan High School. If you ever would be willing to speak to my 9th graders who are in a business-focused academy, that would be awesome. Do you get, I'm sure we can hook you 2 up, but I'm sure that's something that you probably already do.
Yeah, I do quite a bit of it. I mean, I've been spending a lot of times on podcasts and panels, doing it digitally these days. And I've definitely spoken at different high schools. Love to speak to kids and give them any sort of insight that I can. So you can find me on LinkedIn or, Instagram or even Facebook. Just search me and send me a message. I'd love to chat and, inspire the kids.
When you talk with today's youth, as they would say, I'm going to guess they're far more sophisticated than my generation, that these are kids who understand probably a lot about marketing more than previous generations. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's innate for them. They're not even having to be taught. They're just seeing it day in and day out. Yeah.
I want to go back to some of the numbers that you just brought up. How many countries is Rastaclat in?
Well, we're in 228 countries and regions. There's only 198 countries. So some of those are islands and different things. And so we distribute our products all around the world. So it's pretty phenomenal. I go to places that I would never have thought to see my products, and it's there, and people understand the brand. And so there's that. And then we have a lot of retailers around the US, from Zumiez to Tilly's. You'll see them all around Long Beach. Different, all the NBA arenas carry our products. Major League Baseball arenas carry our products. Dick's Sporting Goods, those type of retail stores.
Now you mentioned how Long Beach, and I think a lot of people, excuse me, feel this way. There's a certain Long Beach feel that connects with a certain type of person.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back at the success of your company, what is it that is Long Beach about it? What did Long Beach give you that allowed you to push this thing forward?
I think it's simple. It's just that sense of culture and inclusivity, right? That's the reason I fell in love with Long Beach, is that you can go to Long Beach and you're in a community of people that are so diverse, and you don't have to cross the 405 and all these freeways to go see it. It's all there within a 10-mile like radius, And so when we think about globalization and inclusivity, and even if you look at our staff, like we're all different shapes, sizes, and colors and cultures, and then we're just this cornucopia, but have one general vision, which is, being positive, but also just like being inclusive. And that's how Long Beach is. You go around and there's not judgment. People accept one another. And it's like, that's what's really great about Long Beach. And we've infused that into the brand. And that's why I fell in love with Long Beach, to be quite honest with you.
And I would add that the other thing about Long Beach I've always find, it's got a very DIY feel. Like, look, we'll just do it ourselves, whether it's the hip hop scene or art or what music, whatever. It's just like, forget, no one's going to pay attention. Great, we'll do it. And that's very much what you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. And like culture of Long Beach, you talk about music, art, skateboarding, like everything is just, it's there. And so if you think about when we feature influencers on our site or create storytelling, a lot of that is based on lifestyle and culture and things that people love to do, how they express themselves. And so Long Beach is a mirror of that as well.
Now, let me ask about you, like from this teacher's question to, you mentioned other people have reached out. I could see, Daniel, where you could become your own brand. Like you could be someone that people like really say, I want to be like that guy. Are you comfortable in that role? Do you want to just say, hey, look, man, anybody can do this? Or how do you feel when people are like, oh man, I want to be him?
I mean, I think it's an honor. I mean, it's my responsibility to take that and run with it, even though, some of us may be like, oh, I don't want to be on camera or whatever, but we only get one life. And it's like, if you have an opportunity to inspire people, dig deep and put yourself in uncomfortable situations and great things can happen. And it's not about living a life that's comfortable for you. It's about getting out of your comfort zone and inspiring other people. So for me, I've definitely taken that leap. It's like, it's the easy thing is to wake up every day and not be seen and not share the story and just have the success, but the harder thing to do is to go out and like share that and inspire people to do the same and lift them up. And I think that's a life more worth living than just kind of like sitting in my own success in a corner. So yeah, absolutely.
How many employees does Rastaclat have right now?
We have about 40 employees.
Okay. All here in Long Beach?
They're all over. We have probably about half of them are in Long Beach, and then everyone else is in LA, Orange County. And ever since COVID, a few people have sort of spread into different cities, but generally Long Beach. Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because anytime we do a business story, obviously we have to talk about the pandemic. How has it affected your business? The fact that you do so much online business, I guess that's good for you. How overall has the last 6 months been?
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. I mean, there's some parts of our business that are a bright spot, like you talked about online and e-commerce. It's almost 80% increase from last year. So that's been amazing. But then there's areas like I talked about before where we have all these sports licenses, like the MLB, NBA, Olympics, and these leagues have pushed back their seasons. And we sell our products in the arenas, but nobody's going to the arenas. So there's areas where we're having trouble, and there's areas where we're excelling. But overall, I think what's gotten us through this and helped us maintain and also build a stronger community is really focusing on our brand message, at a time where people mental health and just being able to keep it together is so difficult. We really just been trying to balance, selling the product by also giving people value of, sort of that headspace that they need to be at. And so this year has definitely been a roller coaster. We've been blessed enough to be able to maintain and continue to strive forward and, look to have a successful year and even have a greater 2021. But you know, at this point, you don't know what's going to happen. So you just kind of take it one day at a time, you know? So, but yeah, it's been challenging, but we're still here.
Have you seen a surge in LeBron James Laker bracelets, I'm guessing?
Definitely a surge in LeBron James Laker bracelets. So we got maybe another week of that, or 2 weeks. So we gotta soak it up, you know? So,
I know. I'm so happy the Lakers in the finals, but I'm so bummed after that. We just have baseball. I mean, I know you gotta like baseball, but the Lakers will all be done. Hopefully they'll have won. Hey, so I want to ask about, let's talk about giving back. So this is something, as we said, that has been part of your business plan from the very beginning. Let's go back to the beginning, like, because I'm sure there were people who were saying, Daniel, you're a new business. You don't have to do that. Why was that important from the beginning that you give back?
Yeah, I think for us, it was about how do we just not be the company that just says it, right? It's like one thing to say, seek the positive, do good for yourself and others, and all those things sound great. And, you know, even when we first started, I didn't want to do give backs in the sense of donations, because I felt that it was almost like a cop out, right? We'd actually go out and go to the Boys and Girls Club, or we'd go to the YMCA, we'd go plant that tree, you know, on, you know, one of the streets there, or we'd go do the beach cleanup. We would actually get our hands dirty. And so that was something that we were very, very passionate about doing. It's just not like throwing money at the solution, like actually getting ingrained at it. And now we do that, but now we've also elevated to, like, you know, donating. We've donated over $1 million over the last 10 years in kind donations. So, you know, it's been great. We look to do even more, you know, for Seek the Positive Foundation next month. We look to, you know, donate, you know, probably about $250,000. That's the goal for 2021. So we got to get to work, but, you know, that's the goal. Yeah.
Obviously, as we've seen time and again, it's very, very important who you associate yourself with, because sometimes you can get yourself in situations like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You work with a lot of organizations. I'm guessing you probably have people, this is all they do. How do you guys go about deciding, first off, what areas you're going to work in, and then who you're going to work with?
Yeah, we have, you know, what we've developed is a structure, and I'm assuming you're talking about sort of our give back.
Yes.
So we have a structure, you know, so we really look at it as like, okay, what are the two pillars that we really, really want to focus on? So we think about equality and then personal development. And then within those pillars, what are the specific causes that we want to really fight for? So on the equality side, we look at women, we look at gender, we look at race, you know, and then on the personal development side, we look at mental wellness, we look at health, just general health, things of that nature, and then education. So now when we kind of have those other, you know, pieces, and it's like we find the right organizations to partner with within women's, race, gender, education, wellness, and so on and so forth. And that's how we sort of, you know, go after our partnerships within the philanthropic side of things and stay within the scope that we really want to, you know, maintain. Yeah.
Curious, how long before the TED Talk? When have you been approached? I bet you've been approached.
There's definitely been opportunities. I was actually supposed to do one this year, but with COVID, it's kind of like, I think everyone's kind of put them on hold. But yeah, hopefully one of these days do a TED Talk, and, you know,
what would be, if you think about it, what would be your subject matter? What would be your theme if you were to give a TED Talk?
I mean, I haven't had much thought. I've thought about being up there and visualized it, but in terms of what to talk about, you know, I think, you know, there's been so much that's been talked about. I'm not sure what I think I just have to share my story, and it would be a conversation of mindset and you know, the neuroscience behind it, or something of that nature, but something like that, where, you know, people can kind of get a feel for it.
Now, I know you're in this every day, doing it every day. Are there times that you go, damn, I did that? Like, wow, that, like, especially like this being a 10-year anniversary. It's one of those like birthdays where I'm about to reach 60 and you're like, what's going on here? Have you had time to kind of go like, okay. And by the way, has there been any part of that where you go like, I need to be better at this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my staff will tell you, it's like, I'm one to kind of, you know, I'm always looking ahead. I'm always living in the future, in a sense. When it comes to business, at least, I try to be in the present as much as possible. But I'm so focused on the vision and the future forward. So, you know, actually, a lot of times I don't take a lot of time to sort of smell the roses. And I think that's what's great about having my team, my staff, our team at Rastaclat is you have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not going to just run and not like celebrate those little wins, even though I tend to do that on my own, but they keep me centered to that. And, you know, we do have to take time. The other day we did a Zoom call with champagne, and we all did a champagne toast, and, you know, had a glass and things like that. So we definitely take time to sort of smell the roses and be like, man, like we did this. We've accomplished greatness, you know, in a sense. People thought that we wouldn't be around longer than a year or two, and we've outlasted a lot of brands and things of that nature. And so so yeah, we do it. And yeah, my team makes sure that we do it, because otherwise they get burned out, because if we don't celebrate, they gotta, you know, then it's hard to kind of keep going. So yeah.
This has flown by. This is seriously, I do these all the time, and I think this is the quickest one. Now, before I let you go, I must ask you, the dude who kept you waiting and basically helped you create your business, does he come at you and say, you know, I want 10%? Like, does he ever come back? You still know that guy?
He's actually one of my best friends. So, you know, it's yeah, and he's a police officer in Portland, you know, so we keep in touch. And you know, he's just happy for me and proud of me. And you know, so, but yeah, thank God for him, and, you know, him lagging all that time. So
his irresponsibility is your
is my success. So we'll go with that.
I'm curious, the first one you made for him, is that one of your designs? Is there like an original Rastaclat bracelet?
There's an original one. It's very DIY. I was showing it. It's on my Instagram. If you go on my Instagram feed, at Daniel.Kasidi, Kasidi. If you just scroll, you'll see the first one. But yeah, I made the first one, and that's the only one I've ever kept, honestly. Like, that's the only one that I've ever kept. And, you know, it was very DIY, but it took us here.
Well, Daniel, again, this is just so much fun to talk about, because it's fun to see someone not only make it by such creativity and hard work, but then turn around and try to benefit others. I think it's a great story. We thank you again for being here. We thank you for participating at home and for your questions and comments, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good afternoon.
Thank you, guys.